This is the Viking Vlog, episode number 35. Who'd have thought it? Hello and welcome back to the channel. Hi. I am Bragi, your host for the day.
And I'm Egil.
What another fine mess. Now, we're here for something special. And cheers, skull. And it is indeed the 35th Viking Vlog.
Who would have
thought it?
Yeah.
Yeah, one day we're going to get that on a t-shirt, Egil. Yeah. I'll get you one for free.
Yeah, well, we could flog them.
Well, no, we don't flog them. It'll be done independently for us.
Well, there you go, folks. So, what are we talking about today, then?
Well, today I got a bit of paper.
All right.
We are organised, and we're going to talk about birth. It could be basically a theme of birth, life, and death in the times of the Anglo Saxons and the Vikings.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the Angles. So first of all, before we do that, we've got to talk about the old traditional thing. What have you been up to, Egil? What have you done?
I've got another rotten mouse in my kitchen.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's just an ongoing. I'll have to disinfect, I think. That might get rid of them.
Yes, that could do it.
I've heard, and maybe you guys can tell us, peppermint oil gets rid of mice.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, I might try that.
Yeah.
But let us know if you, apart from having a pussycat, which I'd love, but I can't have, they get rid of mice very quickly.
You have to get you a very large furry cat suit.
Well, there's some I look like a tomcat already.
Well, yes, with your whiskers.
No, apart from that, I had a nice experience. My ex-girlfriend came over and we had a meal. She cooked it.
Oh, hello.
I helped. Hi there. Yeah, so apart from that, it's another month nearer my retirement.
Yes, it's been 2 weeks since we last filmed. It rained last week.
It's probably going to rain tonight, but there you go. Anyway, that's me done.
So you've not been anywhere?
I'm a universal credit man. I've been to town.
You've had a walk round Darby?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I certainly do live the high life.
Have you read any good books recently?
I have to say not really. I'm reading at the moment a book by Dalton Trumbo called Johnny Got His Gun.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it was a controversial novel in the late 40s, early 50s. It's about an American doughboy who lost arms, legs, his eyes, nose and mouth, and he's sort of going into his thought processes. But Dalton Trumbo was the House of Un-American Activities. He also used to write in the bath on his typewriter with a big cigarette holder.
Well, you know, each to their own.
Yeah, but that's the book I'm reading now. What did I read? Oh, I read an interesting book before called Sisters of the Somme, and these are the nurses, St John's Ambulance and the VADs, Voluntary Auxiliary Detachment nurses.
Well, one of them may have attended my grandfather, who got shot at the Battle of the Somme in the head and survived.
Well, yeah, I mean,
very lucky.
It's this hospital through till 1918. So, yeah, I mean, there were a lot of people invalided out. There was several nurses. He may well have known the names of the nurses, but yeah, they did an amazing job and very brave because the Germans decided to bomb hospitals.
Yes, well, that's very cowardly, isn't it?
Yeah.
But let's move on from that. So, that's, what have you seen? Anything good on TV recently before we go into what I've been up to?
Well, my two favourite programmes are The Big Bang Theory and American Dad.
Roger the Alien.
Oh yeah, I love Roger the Alien. I like wine. But I love the American Dad because it makes you think more. And also the Big Bang Theory is one of my favourites. I just think all of the characters there are amazing. It's not on anymore, unfortunately, but they are playing replays. But another one I recommend is Young Sheldon.
Ah, yes, I've seen that. I've seen a couple of them.
And it's quite amazing that a child of that age is so well adapted to acting.
Well, of course so. But, you know, this is the world we live in. I mean, there you go. I mean, who'd have thought you'd be on camera right now?
Darling, it's in the stars.
Indeed. So there you go. So you're not really done much. You read a few books and you watched a bit of TV. I've been watching Friday Night Dinner this week. Have you seen that on Channel 4? It's very, very funny.
I know, I haven't.
No, you ought to check it out. It's very funny. It's about these two lads. They come from the in-betweeners, the two lads.
Oh, I know.
And they go around to the mum and dad's house.
And
the dad's always off with the shirt off.
And they've got that weird bloke from the next door. Hello, I just thought I'd call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so I've been watching that. And then the week before that, I had a massive run on Doctors. It's the only soap I watch in the UK. I'm not a big soap viewer. Do you watch soaps?
I've never watched it. As I say, Big Bang.
Have you watched EastEnders?
No, I detest
That's
it.
a soap based in London, full of Cockney Southerners.
See, the trouble is with that, every week there's somebody trying to kill somebody.
Yeah, it's just not real, is it?
No, and it's the same with all these soaps. You know, people trying to kill each other and they're having affairs.
You don't get that in Doctors. We'd have affairs, yeah. But that's it. I've been watching Doctors a bit. And,
But I mean, you get a bit of trouble, that's life, but not to the extent of going out and murdering people or having aeroplanes crash into
of course,
the village.
very exciting things happened the last couple of weeks.
Go on.
The new Star Trek series is out, Picard, and I've watched 2 episodes so far, and they're both been fantastic.
Well, to me, I think...
Are you a Star Trek fan?
I'm not a Trekkie. I watch it if it's on and I feel in the mood, but other than that, I know there's people who are really... crazy.
I was once round T.K. Thorkelsen's house
Yeah, I remember.
when a massive pile of Star Trek videos fell on top of me,
Well, do
and
you
I
know,
was trapped.
he had that big bookcase
He
full
did.
of VHS video. He had every single one of them.
He loves Star Trek.
Yeah.
Same here. So I've been watching that.
I remember I used to go to his house when it was on, and I'd try and get out of watching it by going to the lavatory. But bless him, he'd pause it, and then we'd come back. Oh no!
Oh,
I think my record was 5 visits to the lavatory.
somehow I don't think you'll be getting an invite next week. Now, moving on from that.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, so what else have I been up to? Well, I've been editing some more videos. I've been trying to speed up the editing a little bit so I can get some more out, because it does take time to edit. I mean, people don't appreciate it. We can sit in front of a camera and film all day. It's dead easy. But the hard stage of it is doing the editing, because it's time consuming. And then you've got the rendering, and that's time consuming. And I'm playing a load of videos today. I'll start rendering them tomorrow morning about 9 o'clock. And I guarantee you 18 hours or 20 hours later, I'll still be rendering those videos. And I can't do anything until those videos are rendered. But we are working on more content for you.
There is something else I did, and you were here when I did it, trying to play the guitar
Yes,
again.
he has been.
I used to be semi-professional. Now,
Would you like to give him a demonstration of you playing the guitar on your stick?
always somebody making a nuisance. There you go. But it felt to me like my fingers were about 5 times the size. I have to point out.
You've got soft fingers.
No, it's 40 odd years since I played a guitar. Don't be fooled by my Peter Pan looks. And I thought, well, I'll soon pick it up again. But I had to have a friend of mine, thanks Pete, who to tell me how to tune it again, because everybody uses electronic tuners.
I know.
And to me, that's
I
wrong.
mean, you can even get apps now.
Yeah, well, to me, I've done it. But I've got to have a hell of a lot more practice.
Well,
Hint,
keep
hint.
practicing. And, we do like the old musical instruments. We've got a harp round here somewhere. Got to figure out how to tune up.
Well, I figure I might be able to write music for the channel. if
Well,
I can
yes.
learn it.
I've been thinking about writing parody songs, because I'm quite good at parody songs.
Yeah. But anyway, back to you.
Yes, so I've been editing, working as always on that, looking after my father Magnar. As you know, I'm a home carer. So when I'm not filming, I'm pretty much caring all the time.
He's doing all right, sir.
Yeah, it's actually doing really good at the moment.
Yeah.
He's really good on his legs. He looks really good, and the doctor's very happy. And he's really happy with himself, so that's great, That's what more do you want when you're 88?
Well, that's the most important thing, isn't it?
And I've been out a couple of times in Darby. So let's move on now. We're going to talk about birth and childhood in the Dark Ages for a couple of minutes. Keep it brief, Egil.
Well, we today we have medical machinery and everything else. Of course, if you can imagine the whole birth process taking place at the bottom of your garden in the potting shed, and there's muck on the floor, you've got a cow leaning over, snorting.
Moo.
Yeah.
Ski.
And the light is a candle or tallow rush thing, and you don't know about hygiene, and you maybe got the neighbours giving you advice like, come on love, give it a go, and you'd have a professional you'd have a woman who'd be well up on midwifery.
Yes.
And it's amazing the jobs these ladies did.
They do. Still do today.
But it was the biggest killer of women, in that we've found skeletons in York where there's fetal skeletons half in and half out. There's only so much that you can do, and of course the risk of infection is even stronger. So it was 50-50, and you're doing well if you bang a child out. But you need them, because look at it this way, the more children you have, the more chance you have of being looked after in your old age. I retire in 10 months' time, and I'm looking forward to a pension. There's no pensions in the Dark Age. You either worked or you died. But if you've got children who are willing to look after you, then you're on a winner. Maybe one of them might even marry well. So that's birth, really.
What about childhood? How did your childhood differ to, let's say, the Victorian age or the modern age?
Childhood in those days didn't really exist. You had little people who were doing adult work, in that if you're a toddler and you could throw grain, fine. And then you learn how to, I don't know, maybe your dad's a carpenter and you learn to do woodwork. If you're a girl, you would be taught how to cook, how to sew, the history of the family, also how to handle men.
Yes.
To stop brawls. They were called peacemakers. In that you got two blokes arguing, she'd come and say, hey, behave yourself. And a housewife was a social rank. We'll cover that later in a video about women.
Yes, we're going to cover more subjects on ladies.
So childhood itself, you had games and things like that, but you'd be out foraging for wood for the fire, maybe finding apples or honey or whatever you could find.
So it's not like the modern world where we have free time to sit down and do nothing.
Well, you certainly wouldn't be educated. If you were a king's son, you might learn to read and write, but bear in mind those are two separate things.
Yes.
Charlemagne learnt to read, but he never learnt to write.
Yes.
Which is a clever thing, because you can read what's going on, but you don't give yourself away by writing.
And wasn't Charlemagne responsible for learning to a big degree? I think it was Charlemagne.
Charlemagne did some. Alfred for England did a lot. But they were weighing up, if we're being honest. If you've got an educated populace, they think, and they don't obey. They protest. So you don't really get people reading and writing until the 19th century. There are exceptions, obviously.
So, I mean, if you live in a small village, here we are, Northworthy, let's say there's 100 people live here, how many would read? 1, 2, if you're lucky?
The Lord might. If you've got a monastery or a church.
Would we be able to read in our class?
Well, it depends if you've got a church nearby and if you have the desire.
Oh, I'm a pagan, not going there.
Well, you know, I mean, there you go. You've answered your question. So that's basically that.
Were children educated in the same sense of going to school?
You might if you were a novice monk. Obviously, if you're doing an illuminated manuscript, you've got to know how to write. However, interesting point, the artwork for the scrolls was fantastic. But
It was.
their Latin was a bit like Officer Crabtree and Hello Hello. It was good moaning. They had to send them to Rome to learn Latin properly.
Just let them know what Hello Hello is.
It's a very inferior programme set in World War II.
Very funny.
It is funny in parts. I don't think Gestapo are very funny, but there's a French policeman who's an English officer who can't speak French properly and goes, good morning. And
why is there a dick in your pond?
yeah, there you go. But anyway, childhood.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah. So
let's go. So you now left childhood.
Mm-hmm.
You're now becoming. Let's say you're a young lady, or you're a young man. You're about to become a warrior. You know, you get to the age where you're now a teenager, and you know you might want to think about settling down and courting.
Here's a different thing. Whereas a boy at 12, you
Yes.
were considered a man. You would have to take part in battles, should there be any, and we talked earlier about a carpenter, you follow your father's trade. With women, it was the first period, then they were considered women, so it varies. It's the manhood thing. You'd also have to go through rituals. With the Anglo Saxons, they would have to kill a massive bull called an oryx. I mean, it's like a big bull on steroids.
Oh, yes.
Well, to prove your manhood, you had to kill it and presumably have a feast on the meat afterwards. So much so it's now extinct, although people did kill the last one in the 17th century. But that was an act of manhood. Women, yes, you were, depending on your class, I think. If you're a prince, you were sort of virtually paired at birth. But how does a woman get married? Well,
yes.
Here's the thing. Here he is, Bragi, young, virile, woof. And we have Lena, who is
single.
Comes from a reasonable family. How does he go about marrying the woman? Well, first thing, he is not allowed to give her love tokens. He's not allowed to say poetry, because there could be spells and runes hidden in there. If she thought he's more, he thinks he's Brad Pitt, and she thinks he's Armpit. So she can get rid of him and say, Daddy, I don't want anything to do with him, yuck. Or maybe he gets married to her, and the father of the house is the priest of the house in pagan times. They get married, jobs are good. And later on, they got the pathway in front of the church. The priest would come out and bless the couple. As time went on, they went to the door, he blessed them, and then later on, when everyone was Christian nominally, the church service was held in the church. Now, marriage is like a Christmas present.
Yeah, you said this before.
Yeah, it looks really nice and everything else. You under it and it's a pair of smelly old socks. Bragi here has had enough of his wife and she's had enough of him. How do they get rid of it? He rolls his sleeves up and shows his chest hair. And on market day, he and his wife go to the market and she goes, I divorce thee, I divorce thee, I divorce thee. Jobs are good.
So simple, isn't it?
Or you have another method from a person we know very well. The man dresses as a woman.
Yes.
And the woman dresses as a man. Again on market day, when the priest has stopped having a fit of apoplexy, he goes, I divorce thee, I divorce thee, I divorce thee. And everything's split in half, apart from the children, obviously.
What would happen if your wife is much smaller than you and you can't get in her clothes?
Well, you just borrow a hanger rock from next door.
That's fair enough.
Or you just show arm hair. Bodily hair apparently was...
So it was much easier in those days to get divorced than it is today. And then you could get yourself married but rather quickly again.
Yeah.
I mean, could you have more than one wife in those times?
In pagan times, you could have more than one wife.
Oh.
But what you normally did was you had the woman you loved.
Yes.
Who produced your sons and heirs.
Yes.
And a concubine with whom you took out your sexual needs.
Oh, right.
It didn't matter if she died in childbirth. You're a winner either way. If she dies, then you get another one. The wife selects it. If she has a baby, you've increased the slave thing and the potential
right,
money
so
in it.
that's interesting. So you covered marriage there, and you covered divorce, which is, an integral part of marriage if you don't want to be married to this person you're married. But let's go back to the courtship again, because how does courtship and dating compare to the modern world?
Right. Now, you proposed to your woman.
Yes.
She said yes.
Will you marry me?
He then...
There you go.
For the next month, they drink in mead.
Oh.
Wedding night. After that, he brings it's called the Morgengabe, the morning gift.
Yes.
Which is like a dowry. And that Morgengabe is hers. If they get divorced, she returns it to him. And there's no interest or anything like that, it's just returned. So it's a showing you commitment to the relationship because you've committed. It'd be quite a lot of money if you can afford it.
Well, of course so.
If you haven't got the money, animals. And this is something that's carried on through the ages throughout the world.
And do you think courting was way much easier in those days, from your experience and mine?
No, because you'd have If you've got a beautiful daughter, you want to make sure she's okay, so you send a couple of slaves out as chaperones. You don't want him spouting poetry, because there could be spells hidden in
That's
it.
me buggered them, isn't it?
And all jewellery, you've got to be careful, because there might be runes hidden in there, love spells, and you have to be careful. So, you know, fathers are just as concerned about the daughters now as they were then.
To me, it sounds much easier than going on dating apps, which I'm currently doing, because let's face it, you know, we're young men. I'm especially younger than Egil. I don't want to be single all my life. And who does? But, you know, dating these days is a nightmare, you know. People don't talk. At least in those days, I think people talk more.
Well, all I used to do was get a skinful of ale down at the palais and pick up something. You either click or you don't. Well, red lion in my case.
I had a very good night out the other week with Thomas of Dale, and we was down in the standing order, and we met two very nice ladies, not saying their names, but hello. And I got chatting to one of them. It was very nice, very beautiful. But it got me thinking about this, courting and dating in the old days versus the modern world. I think the modern world is more messed up when it comes to dating. So much harder these days.
I think it's a matter of self-confidence as well.
Well, I've got lots of that, no problem.
With your apps.
Yeah, you don't use them, do you? So
No.
you don't have that experience. I do.
But the thing is, you've got to be careful who you're talking to.
Well, of course you do.
There could be, shall we say politely, professional ladies.
Well, you get a lot of that who would want you to go to a website or watch them, but I'm not into all that kind of work. I just want to meet somebody who doesn't. I mean,
Yeah.
But so there you are, you know. You Olaf, you've been married, and you're now getting long in the beard, and you died.
Oh.
How do we, in the Dark Ages, how did the Anglo Saxons deal with death and burial compared to the Vikings?
We get a good example of an aristocratic burial in Beowulf, when they say it is good for a man to leave the house of bone. Now, we'll start with the higher ups. We know from those of you who've seen the 13th Warrior, Ibn Iffadan actually existed,
Yes.
and he described a Viking burial. So, first thing, the Lord or Jarl dies. He's dressed in new clothes and buried. There is a slave, and they say who will die with their master, and she goes round all the Lord's friends who have sex with her. She's then brought back. They dig the body up, which by that time was turned blue, put him in his long ship with his dog and various animals and various treasures. Then comes the angel of death, and she has a big broad-bladed dagger. And first of all, they lift the girl up 3 times. I can't remember exactly what she said, but she says she sees her master in heaven. She's drugged with, I assume, phlegaric, or maybe even marijuana, because it grows naturally. And she's carried on board. She lays next to the Lord, and while she's being stabbed, everybody goes "Hey!" to hide her screams. Then the ship is pushed out, set fire to. Not very nice if you're a slave girl.
No.
But other than that, the aristocrats like us tended to get cremated, both sides. As one man said to Ibn Fiden, we do not bury our heroes and make him into worm food, but we send them up to Valhalla in smoke.
Well, fair enough.
But with the Christian faith came more burials. Now, both Vikings and Saxons were buried, obviously. That's how we found a lot. Some had grave goods with them. It is a myth, and I will stand my ground on this. Used to be, if you're pagan you got grave goods, if you're Christian you're not. No, that's rubbish. Digging up some Cuthbert, there was hardly room for him to be in the coffin.
Yeah, I've heard that.
He's got silver bowls, and that's still the practice today. His crozier, his full robes. There were runes on the top of the coffin so that you could see them. Today, there was a guy who was buried in his Cadillac.
Yes.
There is no rule in the Christian faith to say You cannot be buried with
I
stuff.
saw a guy locally died, and they put his ashes in a little longboat, and a small one,
Yeah.
put it in the sea and set fire to it, and he went off that way. I thought that was fantastic.
The thing is, the way you tell a Christian grave from a pagan one, Christians are east to west, pagans are north to south. That's the only difference. And anybody tells you, oh, he's got a grave because he's pagan. No. Think of the stuff the Pope gets buried with as well today. He's in full robes, crozier, and everything else.
Well, perhaps if I dig a grave one day in the garden, you could pretend to bury me.
Oh well.
We could demonstrate what it's like.
Well,
Crazy idea, but you never know.
you also get cenotaphs as well, where the body's burnt, and you have all the private stuff like they'll need in the next world, and the ashes are scattered in there. You pay some money and takes your choice. There are tombs. If you come to Darby, there's a brilliant St Altman's tomb. There is debate whether it was St Altman who was buried in it, but that's what they told us. I have no reason to disbelieve them. Darby is fortunate in the Saxon period. The old church of St Altman's, when they demolished it, there was what's called charcoal graves.
Yes.
There was body packed in a chest, not a coffin, but a chest full of carbon. There were various other burials.
Fascinating.
Yeah. You find also poorer people buried with like a cooking pot on the head.
Yes. Well, how were poor people buried in those times compared to the rich? We'll just put in the ground and be done with it.
Well, it
Few
depends.
grave goods.
In the pagan times, I assume you just found a place that was sacred to them, buried there. Christian times, you would be buried, because they didn't have grave markers that we know of.
No.
I may be wrong on that, don't quote me.
Well, we do speculate a lot on the channel, you know.
But you're buried in sacred ground.
The main thing is we talk about it, isn't it?
The most important thing to a Saxon Christian is to be buried in sacred ground, because that's where your soul could go to heaven. We did find, and this went up to about 19th, early 20th century, where you have children who died at birth. I'll ring that bell. They were buried round the edge of the walls of the church because they couldn't afford a burial for their child, and she would be buried in sacred ground. And it's a bit sad.
It is a bit sad.
But we do find
that's the way it goes. Well, I think that's fascinating, that, and I do hope you guys, and of course you ladies, hello, have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I thought that would be a very interesting subject to talk about birth, life, and death in those times. Because let's face it, we don't often talk about such things.
Yeah.
And I hope this has been a fascinating Vlog 35 for you.
So maybe they might like to leave a subscription.
Yes, if you're new, you've not seen us before, I am Bragi, and this is, of course,
Egil.
and we are a pair of Vikings.
I know what you're gonna
And
say.
please subscribe.
Press the old bell there, or hashtag.
Yes, you can do hashtag Viking Vlog if you want to just leave that in a comment. If you're a bit shy about leaving comments, just leave a hashtag. It just wants to encourage you folk to do that. And don't forget, go and share it on Reddit, folks, for us.
And also, let's get those comments coming in. We learn. So I think that's.
And before I
about
go,
it.
I'll just let you know I've been drinking tea today, and Egil's been drinking coffee.
Yeah, I
What
do.
have you been drinking?
I
Let us know.
like a cup of tea, I must admit.
Oh, you could have made you one.
Yeah, milk, no sugar.
And don't forget to also check out our Instagram as well. I've been putting more stuff up there the last few days. So goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
Say goodbye, Egil.
Goodbye, Egil. Bye.
Bye.